And we are back. I don't know how back, but we are back. And I think based on the vibes, based on the markets, we are like that back. So again, excited to bring another show, excited to talk about what Owners Club is doing, excited to talk about AI, and excited to talk about what's Invincible GG. I mean, Jonathan, Andrew, I'm like a 5-year-old right now. Give it to me like I'm a 5-year-old. What is it you're building? What is it that you're doing? And why do we need to pay attention? Like, why is the next 45 minutes so important in my life that you're just going to, like, again, man, notification bell on, Discord joined, affiliate badge, the whole nine.
All right, that's a high bar, but we'll try to get there quickly. So let's talk about Invincible GG. That's our company. Owners Club is our first expression of our platform that's currently in market. But Invincible GG is all about competition. It's about tapping into that internal component of all of us who want to compete and want to compete with money on the line. And so our platform is about delivering people AI-powered virtual athletes with which they can compete. Our platform is patented. We disseminate the content we create in video games for legal wagering in Nevada and Latin America currently, soon the entire world. And so if you think about it, we're allowing people to compete in video games, in virtual sports, utilizing AI competitors, utilizing their brains and their gaming IQ, their sports IQ to better invest their components and do it for real money. And so it's a company we've been building for quite a while. The last component of our platform, which is our token, is about to launch. So if people are paying attention, we're 30 days away or so from our TGE, and we're about 45 days away from listing on a major centralized exchange. So a lot of phenomenal things about to happen. We're at that, overly said tipping point where we're our product is in market. We're about to add the token to our game, and then game's on.
So
Andrew, you want to add anything about that while I'm in terms of the company?
Yeah, no, I mean, I am Jonathan is the founder. Jonathan built this company. I've only been here for about a year and a half, but what drove me to start working here was the long-term vision, the vision of being able to really take a lot of these Web2 based players, bring them into the Web3 and be able to experience and participate in the game and have it be a game based upon your gaming intelligence and not just simply who has more time or who can twiddle their thumbs the best. And that's why I've wanted to work here. And I think what we're building towards and what we're working towards is something that's truly remarkable. I have not seen, you know, a lot of games that allow not only the player to monetize their time and be able to have their assets that they own themselves, but where other people via going into casinos in Vegas will be able to participate and wager into the game as well. I've never seen anything like that, and I think what we're building is truly remarkable, and that's why I'm here.
Yeah, no, I think Jonathan, like you were hitting on certain things that like really had me like kind of understanding more of it. And you mentioned first the parent company, Invincible GG, and then the Owners Club being kind of like the first prototype. But when you're building something like this, where was the idea? Is there a game in specific, or is that Owners Club GG that game that you guys really want to be able to showcase on why this works and how this works? And is it essentially what you guys are building something that you guys are going to be able to venture out to other games that have built with the technology that you're building to say, hey, this is how you could get more players to be immersive in the experience that you guys are offering? This is how Web3 and the technology that Web3 has. And I always say Web3 technology isn't sexy. Blockchain is not sexy. And so like, how do we make it sexy, right? And it's by showing them within the games. Is that the thought process? Is that the vision? Is that the way you guys are very much like seeing the landscape?
Yeah, check. Let me dive into each of those things. And so to step back, where we are as a company has, you know, we've been at this, the vision's been in place for a long time. And technology, our technology, blockchain technology, Solana technology has supported the evolution of how the early vision we had has come to reality. So without the technology, not possible. Also without the team, not possible. My kind of co-partner in crime and all this is a guy named Glenn Chin. You know, my background, just real quick, is kind of Ivory Tower, Fortune 500, McKinsey and Company. My own, it's my fourth startup, all successful. And so Glenn is one of the founders of EA Sports, the genius behind EA Big. If you guys ever played those games back in the day, has a passion for basketball, became the global head of Nike basketball, and just has a juggernaut in the sports and video game entertainment space. One of my other partners who's on my board and a big investor is one of the founders of Entain, the largest gaming company in the world. So the vision came, first of all, that we want people to be able to compete intellectually, because thumbs only take you so far. You can compete with your brain forever, right? And so we are a balance of what we call skill games and brain games and virtual sports. But it was the idea of competition for real money, and then legal gambling on that. And that's a really difficult thing to do. And that was the original vision. It's evolved since that, because as we develop and learn and get in the trenches, we talk about our first expression, which is Owners Club. We chose horse racing not because there were already two other great games in the space, Zed and Photo Finish. They are phenomenal games. We chose it because it's the second most wagered on sport in the world. And it's the only technology platform for gambling that has a universal standard, a global standard. And so when it comes to disseminating our content for legal wagering, which we think is a critical component of what we do, if it's worth competing for real money and it's real competition, then it's worth betting on. And that's kind of a part of the ethos of our original vision was, okay, let's create this incredible competitive platform for gamers that's also legal for gambling. And we don't get involved in the gambling at all. It's all third party. We just disseminate our content to those partners. But that was the vision. And Owners Club, I think, is the first expression of that. And I think it demonstrates our other core philosophy, which was we need to bring Web 2 players into Web 3. So everything we've done from day one has been about that. So we're truly a Web 2.5 game.
When you talk about this, and when you talk about, again, like the skill-based aspect of it and using intellectual, like where do you see the gamer though, like the skill-based gamer? Like, where's the skill-based gamer stand, and where does the, like, you know, how smart I am to be a gamer type like also stand? Because here's, like, you know, we've always said, is this going to be a skill-based gaming, like play to win, play to earn, like whatever that is? But like, how do you see it? How do you differentiate the gamers? How do you see the value that the gamer itself will be saying that, hey, I can now take my gaming experience to the next level? How do I take my gaming experience to the next level, right? And I think like a lot of people are always like, there's a lot of, you know, the casual gamers, but as well as casual gamer can now be able to compete in this skill-based gaming because they might have that asset or skill to get them into skill-based gaming.
Yeah, and it's a great question, and it's one that we spend a good deal of time discussing and strategizing on. Let me just be clear about one thing. We are not trying to be the end-all game developer for all gamers. We're trying to deliver a platform. You asked this question earlier, Hari. We're trying to deliver a platform that other developers and publishers can put expressions of their game on. Like, we want to bring our platform to the player's games. So if you're passionate about, you look at our game pipeline and our platform pipeline, yes, we're absolutely launching with a kick-ass horse racing game. We would argue it's the best in the world. But our next game is going to be a fighting game. It's also going to be surrounded by two. We won't announce what they are, but what you refer to as brain games, but the kind of games that you like to wake up every morning and play against your family, compete. And so it's in that sense intellectual, but it's just a sampling because, for example, I'm a huge RPG guy, right? I'm a single player campaign guy, but I love those battles. And we're developing a kind of version of our platform that will take other people's RPG content and turn it into a short-term King of the Hill or Defend the Castle type gameplay with huge stakes in the line. Imagine defending Fort Knox, right? And so we think that kind of gameplay, in using IP and using games that people are already passionate about, but adding the expression is, okay, this isn't my favorite game of all time, Neverwinter Nights, which is an 80-hour game. It's one battle in Neverwinter Nights, and it's a chance for you to compete using your intellect and your RPG skills to win real money. And you can just take that concept and start applying it to different fields. Our second patent, which we don't really talk about much, is around first-person shooters and how you merge gaming modalities like poker with first-person shooters and create a really cool gaming experience. So that's what we're about as a company. The horse racing truly is, it's a great game, but it's about building out this platform globally.
What like, you're starting to get like my background going right now. You know, I spent so much time in Wall Street. I've worked at like so many businesses, and I could see that coming from you as well, speaking to you. So I love that, because I'd love to take this conversation way differently, but I'm gonna keep it very Web3 in a second. Let me ask you this though. You know, you said that you got the fighting game next. You mentioned the horse racing, and the horse racing being something that's kind of a challenge, right? Because of the betting and all that stuff. Why go down that route? What was there to show and prove that the technology that you guys have there right now is very much empowering the gamers again, and bringing really to light how great what you guys just built with horse racing first, rather than going maybe the fighting route, maybe going the first person shooter route, right? As we know, in Web3 and crypto, we love shooter games. I mean, there's an abundance of, if anything, in Web3. And I think that, like, in horse racing, I think that, man, it's definitely a class that's kind of not touched so much in Web3, right?
Yeah, so I'll do first. Let me address the question. I actually can culminate my statement with a video. How about that? It kind of showcases what we're about. And why horse racing? Well, I mentioned the technology side. It's so people don't realize this. 1 billion people last year attended or bet on a horse race. Globally, it's a huge phenomenon. In the United States, we're like, like you probably know Aqueduct. It's great to go up to Saratoga, but it's really not part of your life. Go spend a day in Hong Kong and you will see, be on the trains. it's a part of everyone's life, and everyone's reading the Racing Post, and it's just different globally. So first of all, we know there's a huge community, which Web3 is about, right? So you have a huge Web2 community in horse racing. How do we bring those people into Web3? And I think it starts with developing a product and a game that is real, meaning that I own a horse. I have to train that horse. I have to develop that horse. The horse actually improves based on what I do. I have to get those horse strategies. I have to actually, it's like true ownership. And so for the most of the world that loves horse racing, they can't afford the real horse racing experience. They can't afford to own horses or enter horses in top races, but they enjoy watching it. We give everyone the chance of true ownership, true training, true racing for real money. The stakes are real. And we do this in a very Web2, Web3 way where we leverage in real life experiences, in real life rewards. And so let me show this video real quick, if I can figure out how to do it here.
If you hit the present button and then screen share on the bottom.
Just a quick prior statement here. So that we launched our game last fall in partnership with British Champions Day, and we had a contest. 14,000 people. Not yet.
Okay. Cool.
Sorry. 14,000 people came into the contest and competed. 600 horses went to our finals. The top 60 horses raced on Champions Day at Ascot in the UK, and we crowned our own virtual British Champions Day champion in front of 35,000 people. So let me just show you a quick video of this. Share screen. Oh boy.
Yeah, it's not as easy as
window. There we go.
Yeah,
all right, there we go. Share. There we go. Okay, and
there we go. We don't have sound, but it's okay because you probably did a window and not a tab. Don't worry. Oh, look at that. This is you. And this was where?
This is in the Ascot Racecourse, so Royal Ascot in the UK. I realize the volume is still loud in my ears, but you guys can't hear it. So I can't hear you guys. So I'll talk over. You guys cannot hear the volume. Is that right?
Yep. No, there's no volume because
okay. So what you're watching is a live experience we had where thousands of our fans and our top 20, 30 players in the world flew in to England and to London to experience this event. That's one of our influencers in the UK. You can see the races actually ran the track, and if you could hear the video, it would basically be saying that over 1,000 people, fans enjoyed this. We had the top players come in. They were comped a luxury box. They had events all day long, a concert after the races. It was truly a once in a lifetime event. We gave away huge prizes like all expense paid to next year's Champions Day. We gave away signed silks by one of the most famous jockeys in the UK, all to our community. So it's really meant, and I'll stop sharing. It was really meant to culminate this experience. And it's kind of an example of how we partner with the real horse racing industry and how we bring their fans into our game, which we then subsequently are bringing into Web3. So we're not just doing social media advertising. We're not doing the kind of normal how you take a Web3 game to market. We're actually partnering with the real world, in real life events, iconic events, and giving a game to their fans that then also educates them on what we're trying to achieve in the Web3 community.
Let me ask you this: like you just were in England, you did this event, and I think there was probably lots to learn from that event. Do you think that from an event like that you were very much with Web2 people, real people, not PFPs and all this stuff in Web3? what's the like largest learning from a game developer, from an entrepreneur, that from being out there? Is it that like there's still a lack of education behind technology? Is it legislation across the world that people are just still very unsure of what the crypto is? Like, are you guys positioning it like, because based on the video, no Web3 even was even mentioned, right? So like, and I don't know if Web3 needs to even be mentioned sometimes. To me, like it's one of those things like, I always look at this at Samsung and Apple phones, and it's like Apple Pay and Samsung Pay, but it's actually NFC, the technology behind it, that's powering that. But no one's ever like, hey, did like when you tap to pay. So even for what you guys have here, it's like, where do you guys see, like, what is the largest learning from you? What is what did you take
Yeah.
home, and you were like, damn, we got to double down, or we got to work on?
I'll work backwards because you made some really great points in the last part of your question there that I wanted to address, which is, so we believe strongly that we need to remove all the friction in onboarding people into Web3. So we're selling our tokens to the App Store through Google Play. For most people, it feels like an ordinary in-game currency. It's actually a token. We're clear about that, and they learn that as they go. We provide custodial wallets, so people don't have to have their own wallet. We provide, in-game and on-platform sales of our NFTs. So for the Web2 player, it's just about expanding content and expanding experience. It's not necessarily a conscious decision. I'm going to become a Web3 person. And we think that's important because I think it's you have to take baby steps to get people from. There is a built-in negativity, concern, risk, fear and risk of losing something, and so we try to make that, again, as frictionless as possible for people, and that's a really important thing. We're fighting two battles on the horse racing side. One is the industry. The people who control the industry of racing are on average 60 to 80, and they view us as competition, as potentially cannibalizing their players. And it's an education process to say, hey, listen, you guys have no one between the ages of 18 and 40 who are currently passionate fans, and people who are temporary fans are like seasonal fans of racing, but they're not passionate fans. And you have an opportunity to light those two generations up and bring them into racing through games like ours, through these type of events. And I think the lesson was that market, if you get in front of them and you do things their way, it's accepting. And so that was the real learning from that experience. We also learned a lot of things that are more business related, which is don't try to get 1,000 people to do something complicated, in a 4-hour period where they really want to do is watch, bet, and drink, right? And so that was the real lesson. We try to do way too many little events and contests, and at the day of the races, that was we're all running around like crazy. And the fact was, we should just let everyone drink and have a good time. That was the big learning of the weekend. The other learning is that that young people really do love this. That young people, the people who are Web3 savvy, that were at that event from the UK, it was like, it was a perfect situation for them, right? Because it's the expression of what we want Web3 to be about, right? It's not just off in the dark corner where degens are existing. It's out in the open at the most important racetrack, maybe in the world, but certainly in the UK. And people are celebrating it, right? So for them, it's a wonderful thing. For people who are kind of on the fence and borderline, I think it's a good education that Web3 gaming isn't like some mysterious thing. It's like it's the game. Hopefully, the games you love, right? And so I think we learned that from the experience. But I think it was a great experience for all of us.
Well, first of all, next time you have to invite me. So that's the first thing. Second of all, I think that's really great to, like, understanding, right? Like it's like, hey, make sure you keep like the natural habitat that they're in their habitat, and don't try to bring them out of the habitat, because it will that like mess up the flow. But I think one thing that I really like kind of like want to like go into is like, what's been the perception right now, even there, like with AI, right? Like, I'll say this. Maybe I'm gonna show my age here. I'm 38. I always say this. I'm the older one in the Web3 space, and it's like, for me, I want to see like the real horses, but interact with the real horses still, right? And I think AI is like something that like could really help me maybe even be a better decision maker, because man, I just bet on I only do it by the names. Like I'm always like, let me see what cool names they are, and that's how I go about it. I should be a lot smarter, especially when it comes down to this stuff. But hey, what can I do? But what do you say is right now when you are speaking to them about it being AI driven? Like, how are you guys overcoming that? I think that's something, I think in the world right now, people are getting scared of AI in a way, and some people are very much adapting to AI and very much using AI, but it's still one of those things that people don't even know what AI actually really even means sometimes.
Yeah, so and this will be good because it'll be hopefully an education for the audience about where we sit in the AI spectrum. So, because this the funny thing about British Champions Day is the media that came really got confused about this issue. Okay, because we're not generative AI. Okay? We are old school learning systems, and so we're not. Our races are not driven by AI. The horses are intellectual entities. They make decisions, they react to their environment, they use learning systems to basically improve how they react and perform. And so the AI part of our platform is not in the platform itself. It's not an AI driven platform. They are AI entities. So they require, and this is really important for skill gaming, because if you have an AI horse that can figure it all out itself, you're no longer a skill game, right? And so our horses are intelligent enough. We call it directive AI. You give it directions, it does your bidding, and it will react and still try to do your bidding based on what's happening real time in the race. So that's what our AI is really about. We're trying to move to some level of what we call independent and then collaborative AI, where entities think really on their own, but only so much, because it's got to be skill based. And then they also collaborate. So in a team sport, like you're a basketball fan, Knicks fan. So and Glenn and I, the only reason why basketball is not the next game is this issue. We want to perfect how 5 players on a basketball court collaborate to have success with real intelligence. And that you, as their manager coach, are delivering the instructions, the game plan, quarter by quarter, changes to what the strategy is going to be and the actual plays you're going to run and the defense you're going to run and all that kind of stuff. But your team can work together. When you add a 6th player, you take a guy, when your 6th man comes off the bench, it changes because that person collaborates and works together with those other players differently. And so we're trying to perfect that and make it as realistic as possible before we put out a team-based game. So up until that time, we'll all be individual athletes. But when we perfect this, you'll start seeing team sports from us.
That's killer. That's some killer alpha there, and that's really like, man, you really have it thinking of like, how do you definitely perfect that? How do you actually get it involved, and how do you start thinking that way? Because yeah, I mean that's like our biggest issues in any sports, really. If you really think about it, it just goes outside of basketball, it goes outside of sports, and it goes into gaming itself, right? And it's like, even what you guys are building, if you start like looking at gaming guilds, and you start looking at esports, and you start looking at like, anybody that's just playing outside of the solo player, the multiplayer, like, how do they get involved? How do they work together? How do they win? Like, how do they ultimately find like the happiness to be saying like, I won and I want to keep playing? Because I think like in gaming, it's one of those things. First of all, gamers are really tough, a really tough audience, right? I mean, like, they hate losing, even though that most of them lose anyway. And after they lose, they either rage quit or they kind of like, hey, like, we'll go flood the timelines. But how do you give them a taste? How do you give them that, like, just enough to get in the palate to be like, oh my God, like, I could try this again one more time, and then activate that side of the mechanic of the brain?
Well, you are Jorge, this is the hardest thing about what we're trying to do. You're onto it, which is, how do you have a true competitive platform where it's a skill platform, which takes time. There's a learning curve. You have to learn how to play. You have to learn what horses are good at what. You have to learn how to develop your horses. It is not the simplest thing, but you have to make it simple, and you have to have people have success and good experiences. And I think the two things we're leaning on, so to give people the taste, is we work very hard to force people into buckets of skill. So as they develop, as they improve, we drive them to compete against people who are equally as skilled as them. So it's like the rookies court and the pro court, right? And or the G League and the summer league, and it's different leagues, right? And that's one thing. The other thing is that we spent a lot of time in our token launch thinking about how do we reward our community in a way that drives persistent play. So reward people for trying. I'm a person who does not come from any kind of belief in participation trophies, right? But when it comes to, especially my family, there's no participation trophies in this house.
I've been trying to, let me tell you something. That's like an ongoing battle inside of my family right now. So we're on the same page.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough in today's world, but you have to put that aside and say, okay, in this situation, you have to reward people for trying. You have to reward people for participation. You have to reward people for being good community members, for being good participants in governance. You have to reward those things. So we are. You look at our token allocation, we may have the largest reward pool in the history of Solana games. I don't know. It's huge. And it's really meant to reward people for doing those things. So, and letting people, again, Web2 players come in, and we'll help them get into Web3. We'll help them compete in their first couple of real money races, right? And reward them for participating. And that also feeds the pool for people who are into it hardcore, who are really capable and are putting a lot of money behind their horses. You want to keep constantly feeding competition to that pool. And so it's the hardest thing that we've been trying to work out and balance. It's really hard to do before you have the token in the game. So we're going to do a lot of learning in the next, and we're launching the token. Players that have earned rewards historically will be the first to have tokens in the game. We'll be selling tokens via our platform. And we're really trying to, we do things really differently. I don't know if that's clear or not, but how we come, like we don't overly promote ourselves. We need to start, Andrew, right? And we are trying to have the holders of our tokens be our players. The token is for the players. We're not trying to drive huge backing from investors. We're not trying to get speculators on our token. We're trying to feed our token to our community and let them participate in our games and other what we call token syncs, other really kind of fun things they can do with their tokens in our gaming ecosystem. And we've managed our whole launch based on that philosophy, which is why we're not having a public sale. We're not having a KOL sale. We had a limited private sale to, I'd say, known investors and to our largest players. And the rest is for playing. And we are listing on a major centralized exchange. So I know there will be investors and speculators that jump in, but we're not pushing that.
No, I think that's first of all, congrats. I mean, I think first, congrats to get to where you are today. I mean, it's not easy being in the space. It's a roller coaster ride. Like I say to people all the time, today I might be looking at Lambos, and tomorrow I might be looking at McDonald's applications. I don't know where I'm going, right? There's definitely a lot of uncertainty, but I think that for me, it's always great to listen to what the business plan looks like, what the future plan looks like, right? Again, I'm traditional here, so I come very much, understand when you tell me, hey, this is how we're going to make money. This is how the company's going to make money. This is going to be a long-term goal. This is going to be the long-term vision. I very much get attached to all those things because, again, I've been in the crypto space for a long time. I've been in this space, and a lot of things. Sometimes I always say is what's the roadmap actually look like? Where's 3 months from now look like? What does 6 months look like for you? And what does a year look like? And how did you plan for all these things? Something that probably if we speak to 90% of the people in the space, they're not looking anything past this week, right? It's that's the mentality a lot of the times. And I love that you've been really kind of reinforcing again how this is all being played out, the future games, how the technology is working, how it all going to be really kind of forecasted to say, this is their view, this is our view of success, and this is how we want to outline success to ourselves. And I think that's just so important right now, especially in the space. So shout out to you and your team, and really excited for the coming months. I know that we kind of mentioned a little, we went from the Invincible GG to the Owners Club GG. We mentioned a little bit about like, where the games and the aspects, and we've mentioned a lot about it. Token launch coming and everything like that. But for me, after token launch, the games and everything that's coming, is this like an ecosystem play that you're looking at it? Is this kind of like how you guys are looking to expand? Is the message to partners and partnerships? What is that message that you're like kind of really wanting to get involved with? Not gamers, not token holders, but partners, right? I look at the horse racing, and my brain goes a million miles on how much ad revenue, sponsorships, and all that stuff comes into play, right? Because that's a whole nother like part of that business that's why that business gets to be propped up so as well, right? It's definitely a key revenue point. And I think then you mentioned the shooter, the next game already, and I'm thinking, well, how can partners and partnerships want to get involved with you to be part of this roadmap that you're building? What is that message?
Yeah. So, and I'll answer that real quick, and I'll also go back to the question about what's coming here in the 3 months, and give Andrew the time to talk really quickly about our contest and the game. So to be clear, the game is live, and it's absolutely already a kick-ass racing game. It's just lacking a token. And my cat's about to join us. And so the next 3 months is about the token being in the game, a massive contest we're running with huge token rewards that Andrew will talk about. It's about our TGE, it's about our listing. And then also at the same time, we're actually running a contest currently in Latin America. We're rolling out to 50 casinos and hundreds of betting shops across the Latin America, primarily in Panama. And that's when people there will start for the first time betting on the product. So that's part of it. But from a content standpoint and partnership standpoint, we are a platform. It's going to take a good amount of time to get our fighting game to market. We're coming to market with a couple of other, let's call them brain type games that are third party platform games that are integrating into our platform. And that's the message, which is if you're more of a Web2, or even in some cases a bigger scale Web3 game, and you want to narrow it down and have a much more competitive moment where you can have, king of the castle type dynamics and those kind of things in your games, and really drive that kind of short burst competitive content that can then be broadcast for wagering. That's a giant revenue share. We're sharing across the board there, whether it's the in-game revenues from people competing, if it's ad sales, but also the content fees we get from our wagering partners, we share with our content partners. So honestly, when we're behind closed doors, the word we use is Steam. Like, we see ourselves as a potential Steam of Web3 when it comes to real money competitive gaming. So think about skills.
That's a great comparison. I mean, I think that's actually kind of how I was like really envisioning it, but I'm glad you said it.
Right. I mean, it's hard to say because that's a big, they're an incredibly successful company. Valve was one of my favorite game developers before they became what they are today. And it's huge aspirations for us, but that's what we think about when we think about our platform. And it's a question of how do we get to that place? And also managing a token, we're doing things for the first time, which is always hard. And managing a token, we're trying to make sure the one thing we don't ever have is a lack of demand for the token from gamers. So you have to create more content. You have to have more genres of gaming. You can't be a single genre game company, in my view, and be successful. You have to go to a Steam type format. So with that said, Andy, why don't you talk about the contest really quick? Because it's what's going on right now, and it's a huge opportunity for people who've not played the game to jump in and honestly make a ton of tokens. So Andrew, go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we are having our Invincible Stakes contest, which will end right around the same time as our TGE launch, give or take a few weeks. The real fun part of it is that it's all centered around a massive prize pool that increases as more people participate in the tournament. And so we wanted to build something where Jonathan said earlier, if you participate, you have the ability to win some token. But we really also wanted to make it merit-based. So we're working on a point system in the tournament where, depending upon how well you perform in your races, you earn or you lose points. And it all culminates around a bunch of some epic quarterfinal, semis, and final races between a couple of different grades. We wanted to class players into rookies, and we wanted to class players into veterans categories. So I'm envisioning some real good rookie races towards the end, but I'm also really excited for the veterans that have been participating with us and been playing in the game since our Vegas Cup a little over a year ago, that are going to really kick it up a notch and be competing with the best of the best against each other. I'm just excited to see how that all unfolds. So that's what we have going on right now, and I'm very proud of the Invincible Stakes. I think it's going to be real interesting for all these new players and veterans alike.
Yeah, put some numbers around that. So we have about 1,000 veterans competing, and that's those are guys. I mean, that's the core community who's been behind us since day one. In that group, there's several hundred that are really hardcore core, and we probably couldn't exist without them. So thank you to them. But we have tens of thousands of novice players that are coming in, and so that's really the Web2 community. Obviously, we're trying to work in collaboration with other communities to bring more Web3 players in. But we basically, Andrew and the team's done a great job of breaking this up into two kind of mini tournaments and equally rewarding the groups. So it really is. If you come and play, there's a good chance you're walking away with a fistful of tokens eventually. And so it's a good opportunity for people to learn our game, get the experience, and also experience the joy of racing for real money with AI horses.
Yeah. Andrew, give us the plugs. Like, where do we follow? Where should we get involved? Like, what's the website? What's the Discord? Like, how do we make sure we turn the notifications on?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So you're going to want to go to Twitter or X now, at Owners Club GG. There you can find our link tree with links to our Discord, links to Invincible GG, our the parent company, and you can see some of the new games that we're going to be coming out with as those come down through the pipeline. But you're definitely going to want to get on Discord if you can. Going to be able to get more up-to-date information in real time, and if you have any sort of concerns, that's where our real customer service quote-unquote center would relate. And you can get some quick answers to some questions there.
No, I love it. Love it. Jonathan, I got $1 million question for you. You mentioned Glenn, EA Sports. EA Sports, again, grew up with EA Sports. It's one thing that I messed around with Glenn the other day, and he said he's part of EA Sports, and I told him that I don't think he's part of EA Sports, and he said, why not? And I said, well, anytime I hear EA Sports, you have to do like the intro of EA Sports. It's in the game. So are we going to get, something along the lines of Glenn saying, Owners Club, it's on Solana? Are we going to get something like that? Like, because if not, man, like
I will tell you, the guy that I remember, I'm not an EA guy, but I've been playing EA games for years, and actually, I used to. I'll say that for another day. One of Glenn's best friends is that guy. So at some point, we're gonna, when Glenn feels it's time and it's appropriate, we'll definitely get his voice in. But he's an awesome dude.
Yeah.
That whole team. Glenn's got a kind of a minor army of the former founders of EA that he runs with that are just the most awesome guys in the world, man. It's a great group, and it's kind of, when you meet them and you're like people like me that were fans, it's like, wow, they're just dudes like me.
I just feel like that's like just such a low hanging fruit that we could like take advantage of, it's like, Owners Club, something like that, but anyways, look, we're coming around the time. I want to kind of give a couple questions. Jonathan, favorite horse in the game, is there one?
Do I have a favorite horse in the game? Well, so I do, and I probably shouldn't say this, but it's the horse's original name was Queen Elizabeth II, and it's a filly, and she made it all the way to the finals of the Champion Stakes. But because the Queen was there, we had to change her name last minute to in Her Majesty's Service, which ended up winning the race. And it's probably the most valuable, female horse in our system, because when we launch breeding this summer, everyone's going to want to breed, with that horse. And so that's my favorite horse in the game. And she's a closer too, and I love closers. So it's always a good story.
Always be closing.
Always
Hey, what's one rookie move? What's one rookie mistake every player makes when getting into the game?
Not training their horse enough before they start racing for real. You gotta develop your horse before you start jumping in against the real players. You can't feed your sheep to the wolves.
What's the most iconic name someone's made in the game?
Oh, well, I name all mine after rock bands, so so I've got a stable full of the best bands in history. So I like my horse Led Zeppelin the best.
What do you think is the best thing about Web3 gaming, and what's one thing that just you're really, really excited about right now?
What I like about it is what I hate about it, which is we're back to true super high risk startup world, right? It's tough, man. It's tough to found a company like this. My heart is out with all the other CEOs and founders of the other game companies, because it's hard making a game. It's really hard making a Web3 game. So that's what I love about it, because it's really challenging and it's really difficult, and you're always one step away from greatness and one step away from, as you said earlier, from complete failure. Hopefully we're getting closer to the greatness, but you live with that every day.
You mentioned EA Sports games that you've played. What's two titles that you played or spent most of your time with growing up playing?
Yeah, so FIFA and Madden. I grew up playing soccer, and or that football, and I'm a huge fan of football, European football. I'm also from Boston, and I'm a huge Patriots fan. And I love playing Madden. And I love, I've grown up playing Madden as well. So in both games, I think so. This goes back to the thumbs versus intellect. My sons have grown up. They're 23 and 22, uh, lifelong gamers, and I understand the sports really well. I understand the playbook of Madden really well. I understand the defenses of Madden really well. And I think it's more about my ability to choose the right play in the right moment, my ability to play the right defense, that allows me to succeed even against young gamers. And that's, I always say luck is for losers, right? We as a company say luck is for losers. And it's true in those two games too. So you can mash the buttons and you can try to move your guy as fast as you can, but if you don't know what you're doing, you're not thinking about it, you're gonna lose.
So you're saying it's all about strategy. So if there was a guy named the strategist, like he would be killing it in this game almost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look,
Absolutely.
Last question. You mentioned FIFA. You mentioned Madden. You've got Owners Club. Which one have you rage quitted most in?
Oh, I don't. I don't rage quit. My boys love to rage quit games. I will tell you the rage quit for me, and it's not. I don't rage quit. I just give the impassioned plea of, can we just please stop? Is when I play Call of Duty with my boys and Warzone, and we go on as a team, and they basically are carrying me through the levels. Right? It's just. But I'm pathetically bad, and it's embarrassing. And it's good that I'm anonymous, because it's embarrassing how bad I am.
The bonus question, Jonathan. It's to determine your friendship and mine. Favorite football team in European Soccer League?
Oh, okay. So AC Milan is my favorite team.
Right.
Now it was Chelsea, but they did our boy wrong, Pulisic, and I had to I'm not a fan of the owner, and so we had to change courses. That's why I went from Chelsea to AC Milan. How about you?
Manchester United fan, so diehard
Oh,
Man U fan. I'm actually Ecuadorian, and Antonio Valencia, who is our one of our best players back then. Man U treated him well, and the whole country respects Man U, and it's kind of why we're big fans of it.
yeah, he
But
was a
now,
great player.
You know, we've got several different players that are great, and so we've been venturing out to different sports. But in Ecuador, it's what every TV had was watching Man U. But
Yeah,
look,
we get it.
Jonathan, Andrew, appreciate you guys coming on. Jonathan, next event, next show, you make sure you send me an invite. World Cup in 2026 here. Make sure you send me an invite too for that. We'll definitely have to get.
Are you in New York?
I'm in Florida.
Florida. All right. Well, we'll get you a Gulfstream then.
Hey.
For our next Gulfstream event.
There we go.
Yeah. I go back and forth from New York to Florida, as you could probably tell, because I'm a Knicks fan, unfortunate Knicks fan, but that's another sensitive subject for another day. Last closing remarks. What's the last message you want to send, Jonathan? How do we even follow you, Jonathan? Like, what's your personal Twitter account?
Yeah. Invincible CEO. I think. Honestly, it's I'm terrible at these things. I got a pretty good account, but I can never remember what my usernames are. I will tell you, as Andrew said, go to Owners Club GG on Twitter. Invincible GG, Owners Club GG and Invincible G2W, and then you'll find me there too.
Awesome. Andrew, how do we follow you, and where do we find you?
So I'm on Twitter at BionicMan95, and you can find me on Discord. Andrew K. I got my Speeder McSpeederson horse on there as my profile pic, ready to rock and roll.
All right, guys. Well, appreciate you all coming onto the show. Love the insights. Love the talk. Until the next one, we might have to run this back at the next event. So make sure you send me an invite. We'll make sure we'll be live from wherever we are. And yeah,
Absolutely.
Stay tuned. Make sure you hit those notification bells, and we're going to make sure we keep an eye on everything that Invincible GG is building. Till the next one. Thank you, guys. Have a good day. Have a good show.
Thank you. You too.
You too, guys.